That's the thing about belief. It's not something that comes from the outside. It's not granted to you by other people. It's forged in the fire of struggle, in the repetition of showing up every single day, despite the doubts, despite the setbacks. When you commit yourself fully, when you step forward without needing permission from the world, you start to send a different kind of signal. You walk into a room differently. You speak with more authority. Your presence commands attention, not because you're forcing it, but because you carry yourself as someone who knows where they're going. And when you do that, something remarkable happens. People begin to believe in you too. But it has to start with you. No one else can do that part for you. And the reason why so many people struggle is because they're waiting for someone to tell them they're good enough, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for a sign that guarantees success before they even take the first step. But that's not how life works. There is no perfect moment. There is no absolute certainty. And if you wait for those things, you will wait forever. Instead, you have to move forward despite the uncertainty. You have to trust that if you keep pushing, if you keep learning, if you refuse to let failure define you, then eventually you will become the person who was capable all along. The version of you that is strong, resilient, and unstoppable is already there. It just needs to be uncovered. And that's why belief is so powerful. It's not some abstract, mystical idea. It's the force that determines whether you rise or fall, whether you break through barriers or surrender to them. It is the foundation of every success story, because if you don't believe in yourself, then why would anyone else? Why would the world open its doors to someone who doubts their own right to be there? You have to claim your place. You have to walk forward as if you belong, because you do. And when you commit to that, when you refuse to let fear dictate your actions, when you embrace the responsibility of your own potential, you become someone unstoppable. That's what separates those who make an impact from those who fade into the background. That's what turns dreams into reality. That's what transforms a person from someone who merely exists into someone who truly lives. The way you think determines the way you live. That's not just some motivational phrase. It's a psychological reality. The way you frame the world, the way you interpret obstacles, the way you define yourself internally dictates every action you take externally. And the problem most people face isn't that they lack talent or opportunity or even resources. It's that their mindset is fundamentally working against them. They've trained themselves, often unconsciously, to see limitations instead of possibilities, to focus on why things won't work instead of why they might, to expect failure before they've even given success a chance. And when you live like that, what do you think happens? You prove yourself right, because your brain, in all its complexity, is designed to filter reality in accordance with your beliefs. If you tell yourself you're not good enough, you will find endless evidence to support that conclusion. You'll remember every mistake you've made, every time you've been rejected, every instance where things didn't go your way, and you'll use that as proof that you should just give up, that maybe success was never meant for you in the first place. But here's the thing. If you trained yourself to think that way, you can train yourself to think differently. That's what separates people who achieve something meaningful from those who don't. It's not that they're free from doubt or fear or failure. It's that they've conditioned themselves to push forward despite those things. They don't entertain the thought that they might not be capable because they've already decided that they are. They act as though success is inevitable, not because they're arrogant, but because they understand something crucial. The mind follows the body, and the body follows the mind. If you move as though you're already the person you want to become, your mind begins to align with that reality. You start making decisions from a place of strength instead of insecurity, from confidence instead of fear. And when you do that long enough, something remarkable happens. Your external world begins to shift in response. Because think about it. How often do people sabotage themselves simply by the way they think? How many brilliant ideas have never been pursued because the person who had them decided before they even tried that they would fail? How many opportunities have been lost because someone was too afraid to take a risk? The truth is, success doesn't belong to the most talented or the most intelligent. It belongs to those who have conditioned their minds to see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. It belongs to those who have trained themselves to focus on solutions instead of problems. And the training never stops. That's what people don't realize. They assume confidence is something you either have or you don't, as if some people are just born with an unshakable belief in themselves. But that's not true. Confidence is built. Success is cultivated. It's a process, and it requires work. It requires taking control of your thoughts the same way an athlete takes control of their body. It requires discipline. And discipline, contrary to what many believe, isn't about suffering or restriction. It's about freedom. Because when you master your mind, when you no longer allow fear to dictate your choices, you become unstoppable. Most people don't reach their potential because they refuse to take responsibility for their own mindset. They assume their thoughts are just happening to them, that they have no control over how they think or feel. But that's an illusion. You have a choice in every moment to feed the thoughts that push you forward or the ones that hold you back, to train yourself to look for possibilities, to see yourself as someone who is capable, worthy, and ready to take on whatever life throws at you. And the moment you take responsibility for that, everything changes. This is why those who succeed carry themselves differently. They speak differently. They move through the world with an energy that commands respect. Not because they demand it, but because they embody it. They don't need validation because they've already validated themselves. And something you can develop, but it takes work. It takes catching yourself in the middle of a negative thought and refusing to let it take hold. It takes standing up when you feel like collapsing. It takes pushing forward when every fiber of your being is telling you to quit. And you will want to quit. That's the reality of progress. Your mind will resist change because change is uncomfortable. But the more you push through that resistance, the stronger you become. The more you rewire your thinking, the more naturally success-oriented thoughts will replace the old limiting ones. And soon, what once felt impossible becomes your new standard. What once seemed like a distant dream becomes your reality. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is rarely talent. It's rarely intelligence. It's rarely some innate ability that only a chosen few possess. More often than not, the real difference, the thing that separates the extraordinary from the average, is consistency. Not bursts of motivation, not moments of inspiration, but the quiet, disciplined act of showing up day after day, regardless of how you feel, regardless of whether or not the world is watching, regardless of whether or not success seems within reach. And that's what people